Welcome back to the Wildlands Garden. We're in the food forest. It's currently the end of January 2024, and in tonight's episode we're going back to February of 23 when we start planting the food forest. And also Missy gets what we call the hoop house up, which is basically reusing a V4 polytunnel and turning it into a growing area for peas and tomatoes. And I give you a tour of our swales and berms and the food forest. We started planting it up in February of 23, so enjoy tonight's episode. So we've got another exciting project today. Got a big roll of rebar here. What we're going to do with that? Go on, Missy, you can do it. One bump, 1, 2, 3. Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, Welcome back to the food forest, and I'm stood just on the inside of what I'm calling our hoop house, which is a pretty ingenious design even though I say so myself. So we've used a spare V4 polytunnel frame and then we've covered it in rebar which comes on a roll. It's just over 1 metre wide. So Missy's been busy putting beds in here, and she's going to put manure on top and then cardboard them for the no dig method. And then this is where we're going to plant all things viney and creepy and beany, maybe some tomatoes down the middle growing down off wires. Today's day 11 in our permaculture food forest journey. My first jobs in the food forest today, mentioned in our last episode, was to get the orange tree planted in its fancy bed just near the hoop house and in front of our bench where we're currently sat, and where Bogey's grave is behind us, which is somewhere that we love sitting in the summer. So you can see yesterday I planted this larger orange tree, which is a fairly mature tree, might even give us some oranges this year, surviving well in the colder weather. And I made a border here just around granite stones, and this is from the chicken coop floor, so it's chicken poo manure. And then on top of that I'm going to put potting compost, raise it up to here, and then round the outside we're going to put wood chip to match the rest of the area, but it's going to be fairly narrow. And then along the back, yet to have some love, going to have a slightly raised bed. So coming up to about here with the wood chip here, and then this back section, which is about 4 foot, will be covered in flowers, particularly sunflowers. Don't know if you remember last year the glorious sunflowers that we had here. So we're going to replicate that again this year. The idea being is we can sit on the bench here, and then we've got the view of the tree and the lovely flowers. So I'm going to get on now and get some compost on here and get some wood chip collected and get it down on the floor. But first, let me show you where we're at with the rest of the fruit forest on day 11. So you can see here swale number 2 is complete. It's got straw down, wood chip on top, and there's a lot of things you can put on the floor of your swales. Some people put gravel, but personally, and most people seem to prefer putting down sawdust, wood chip, wood bark, straw, combination of all those, including plant waste. You could put trimmed grass down, anything there to raise it up a bit, and that will rot down over time, add nutrients. So as the water collects in the swale, the nutrients will seep through into your plume and help all of your plants on the berms and beyond. So as you come through this swale, you come round to swale number 3, and swale number 3 is naked at the moment, so it's had strawberries planted. I would think probably about 60 strawberries, and that's because strawberries are fairly deep rooting and will help to hold the berm together, especially in heavy rain events. All the roots there to tie the newly created berm together. So that's pretty much all we've done there. We've put a gooseberry back in, and I think a red currant further down there, but yet to put straw and bark down there. So if I come back this way, and you'll notice these little paths, so where my hand is, there is a very thin layer of bark, but that is the path. And here, if you remember, if I dig down, go down about 6 inches, maybe a little bit more below this path, so as well as serving as a little narrow path to get through to the next swale and for access to collecting your crops and sowing, etc. This is a flood overflow, so the way it works is if you had a big rain event, and we do get those here in Portugal, and this was to fill up, when it gets to the level of the path, the water will remain in the swale and begin soaking through. But when it then starts to get higher than the swale depth where the path is cut, the flood overflow will let the water flow down, and then it will come down here, and it will either go into what is my tropical bed, which has a kind of false swale and berm here, and that's still being prepared, or it will flow down here following the bark and go into swale and berm number 4. And you'll see that swale number 4 is partially completed. So behind me I've got the straw base, and then this is 1 wheelbarrow of bark, a couple of inches, then the straw is underneath, so that needs some more bark here and a lot more bark going down. And then again, we've planted some more mature strawberries that were moved from elsewhere in the Fruit Forest version 1. And then we've got, again, about 60 or so of these little bare-rooted strawberries. And then again, some more currants, several different types, more at that end as well, and a cherry tree there. So it's all very exciting here down on the wildlands in the Fruit Forest. Meanwhile, Missy's been very excited about the finishing touches on the hoop house, which we've mentioned quite a few times, and it's very exciting because now Missy's going to show you what she's been up to finish that project.
With the frame now up, it's time to move on to the next jobs. I'm going to keep myself busy making some beds ready to get all my lovely plants in, and Dom has decided that the structure isn't quite stable enough for his liking, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Yeah, I can give you a quick demo. And although it is hooped, so it should be strong, obviously the galvanised frame of the Vivo greenhouse is not designed to take such a big weight. So I'm thinking I'm just going to put a big central pole in, just to keep it from collapsing when you've got the weight of lots of very heavy plants, such as the kiwis that are going in.
Sounds good. Onwards.
Is that the bottom?
Yep. That looks good. Yeah? You want to put that stuff around the pole?
Yeah. So that's the cementing done, and we'll put it in a plastic pot, which you've probably seen us do before, and we'll do that just really to stop the lime from the cement seeping out into the soil where we're going to plant plants, really. And it also means that at a later date, if this part of the land wanted to be reclaimed back to nature, this pole and its pot with cement could just be lifted out the ground with a bit of heavy lifting, and then it's gone from the environment.
I've managed to get 3 beds in, ready to have plants in. We've got the pea netting up on the outside of the rebar, and I'm going to tell you how I did that. I started on the earth by raising the earth a little bit, just using natural soil. I've got a little pond project going on down at the very end of the food forest, so I've been taking some of the spare earth from that, wheelbarrowed it up and laid that down to make 3 narrow 50cm beds. Then I added a layer of homemade compost. Then I added a layer of cardboard, which is a weed suppressant. And finally, I finished it off with bagged compost on the top. This is using the no-dig method. We won't have to dig the beds every spring, so it saves you back, it keeps moisture in the soil, and it's very good at keeping the weeds out. And finally, to finish off, I use more of the bark mulch to mark out the path. It looks nice, it's nice to walk on, and again, it's another weed suppressant and keeps moisture in the soil. So the hoop house is 5 metres long, and at the first 2 metres we planted
3 kiwis, and we'll continue maybe adding kiwis on the other side as well. And then on the other 3 metres, you've got your pea netting, which is looking great, isn't it?
Yes, so we're planning to grow a lot of peas, mange tout and different types of beans this year. They need the height, so they're going to grow hopefully all the way up over both sides of the arch and then meet in the middle, and we're going to succession sow them. So that means once a week or once a fortnight I'll put in another row of pea seeds or bean seeds, and that way the first lot will start growing up and then the second lot will start growing up, and as they get bigger and bigger you're going to harvest off of the oldest plants, but instead of that harvest finishing you're going to have the newer plants and the newer plants and the newer plants, so you've got hopefully a constant harvest all the way through the summer. And we've also thought that it'd be really handy if it does get too hot like it did last year and the plants are suffering a little bit, we can just drape shade netting over the tops of the plants, over the whole hoop house, and hopefully that'll keep the vegetables growing on the inside.
Do we know how well peas and beans etc. grow in Portugal from our experience last year?
Yeah, we tried growing some last year. I had them in a bit of a shady spot, so then they didn't grow very well in the spring. They weren't getting enough sun, and then as soon as the sun was strong enough to reach them, it crisped their leaves, and I couldn't keep them moist enough. I couldn't keep them watered, but that's more my failings about where I'd put them as well as the harsh sun. So that's why I've given them such good beds. There's lots of moisture retention in there, and hopefully they'll be able to keep growing even if it gets hot.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. Subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes from the Food Forest from 2023, when we were putting in lots of plants and building it up from scratch. And also lots and lots of content from this year, 2024, as we increase the perennial vegetables and trees and other creations this year.